Hello, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing okay today. I had a request a few days ago to do a video of ideas for time management and to improve efficiency. And I'm not an efficiency expert. I'm really not. But because of the way my life is, I've had to learn to effectively manage my time, to make time for everything that I need to do, but also things that I want to do and things that my kids want to do. So I thought I would share some of my ideas and some of the things that I do to help make the most of our time every day. And so I've written some stuff down on some little cards, and I'm going to go over them one at a time. I really started to learn to manage my time, I think, probably when I was in college. Actually, probably before that, because when I was in high school, I worked. I got a job the week before my 16th birthday, and then I started, I think, 2 days after my birthday, and I've been working ever since. And I went to school and worked. I worked all through college. I have been working ever since, and that's just what I do. I mean, I enjoy being busy and productive. So I've worked and done other stuff consistently for a long time, almost 30 years. So I had to learn, you can't goof off a whole lot and still get everything done that you need to do. So I guess it goes back a little further for me. But at this point in my life, I work full time. I have my two kids, all the time. I make videos. I also sell stuff on eBay. I sell quite a lot of stuff on eBay. In the last 2 months, I think I've sold 185 things on eBay in 60 days. I think that's right. It may actually be more than that. I'm not sure. Anyway, it does take up a lot of time. Finding things to sell, listing them, which can take a lot of time, and then going through the sale and keeping track of everything that I've sold. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to fit everything in, but if you try, you can find ways to make it easier on yourself. So I'm going to go over these now. These are not really in any particular order. As I thought of them, I added them to my list. And then they're all just kind of in here together, so we're just going to go over these one at a time. And the first one is this. Tomorrow is not a better day for getting something done than today. I know this is something that I'm guilty of with a lot of things. I tend to think, well, I'll be more rested and refreshed. I can just do that tomorrow. But more than likely, you're probably going to be more busy tomorrow than you are today, because there will be other things that come up that you're going to have to do. So putting it off until tomorrow is not really making anything better. If anything, it's probably just going to make things worse. So tomorrow is not a better day to get it done than today, most of the time. Now, if you're really sick, I mean, I've been there. If I'm really sick and just feel awful, or I have a really sick child, or something comes up like that you can't anticipate, you can't plan ahead for, that's one thing. If you're suddenly busy with something unexpected, you may have to put it off, and there may not really be anything you can do about it. But if you're just not doing it because it's easier to say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're probably not doing yourself any favors. So just suck it up and go ahead and do it, because it's going to stay in your mind. It's going to float around in your mind. And you may not be thinking about it consciously, but your subconscious mind is aware that you have this thing or these multiple things that you haven't done and that they need to be done. So it's unfinished business. And it adds stress to your life that you may not even realize is there. It clutters up your mind to the point that it can be a distraction, even if you don't know what it is that's distracting you. It just stays with your subconscious thoughts. I need to do this, I need to do this. And I think you waste a lot of energy on that. Whereas if you just went ahead and got it done, you can forget about it. Your subconscious mind has cleared that, and you can focus more easily on other things. In fact, one of the things, and I didn't make a note about this, but one thing I do, and I know this isn't an option for everybody, but one thing I have done forever, I mean, probably since my younger son was born, and he's 7, so I mean, for 7 years I've done this. About every other month or so, I take a day off work, and it's not a day where I do anything for anyone else. I don't spend the day taking care of things for other people. I use that day to do things that I need to get done, that maybe it's easier to get done when I don't have my kids with me, because I always, unless I'm at work, I always have at least one kid with me. And, I love my kids, but if you have kids, you know that having them with you when you're out running errands and doing other things can slow you down and distract you. Whereas when you're by yourself, you can do it. You might be able to do it faster and better because you can focus on it better, because you don't have someone there with you that can be a distraction. They're not trying to be a distraction, but they can be. So I take a day off about once every other month. About every 8 weeks or so, I'll take a day off of work just to do things that I want to get done. I can run errands. I can do stuff around the house all by myself, and I can think clearly. I don't have somebody talking to me. I can just focus on what I need to do. And I get so much done on those days, and it is such a stress relief. It's wonderful. I always try to schedule at least an hour during that day to just goof off and do whatever I want to do, even if it's just, watching Jerry Springer or something. I can just sit down, put my feet up, and watch TV completely uninterrupted for an hour. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do watch Jerry Springer. I'm not proud of it, but I have done that. Makes me feel better about my own life, if nothing else. So I said all that to say tomorrow is not a better day to get things done. Now with the day off thing, I do realize that that's not a possibility for everybody. And you have to make it clear. If you do take a day off, you have to make it clear to everyone in your life you are not taking this day off to do things for them, because that can happen. I can tell you that you may have a spouse who will say, oh, well, you're not doing anything tomorrow. You can go do this, or you can go here and take care of that. And you have to tell them, no, I will not be doing that. I will be doing things I need to get done. You have to learn to stick up for yourself. And I think for a lot of people, especially women, that can be kind of hard to do. You have to learn to stand up for yourself and say, no, I won't be doing that. I'm going to be doing what I need to do. And if you have something you need to get done, then you need to take care of it. I'm not saying you have to be mean about it, but be firm. You can be nice and polite, but also firm. And that's something that I think a lot of women have a problem with, because I do. I have a problem with that. Okay, so there's that. Here's the next one. Figure out how and where you spend your time. And this for me is a thing, because sometimes at the end of the day, I'll look at the clock and realize, it's 10:30. What have I done for the last 3 hours? What have I been doing for? How did it get to be 10:30? But you can just keep a little notebook with you for a few days, and write down what you spend your time doing over the course of several days or a week. Or it would be good if you could get weekdays and weekends in there, so you can see what you do. Because if you're like me, on days that you're not at work, you do different stuff. That's pretty standard, I think. On weekdays, I have my nights, and sometimes I'll go all week and not really have a clue where did all my time go. But keep a little log of what you do and how long you spend doing it. And I think you'd be surprised how much time is in there that you could be getting something done. And then at the end of the week, you're not all frazzled thinking, oh my God, I have all these things I have to get done. I'm never going to find the time to do all this. Well, you may have had time, but you didn't use it wisely. And I'm not saying you have to work all the time, nonstop, but you might be able to find some time in your week, either, on weekdays or weekends or your days off or whatever. You may be able to find some time to get at least part of that stuff done. Maybe not everything, but you can get a lot of stuff done. So figure out where all your time is going. And this is a thing that I think gets a lot of people. Set realistic goals. And I think this applies to time management as well as going to the gym. Don't think you're going to be able to do everything on your list in one day, because you're probably not. There may be some big things on there that you're not going to be able to get them done quickly. It may take a long time to get it done. And it may not be something you can do all at once. You may have to break it up into multiple days. So set realistic goals for yourself. Maybe start out with today I'm going to sweep and mop the kitchen. I'm going to get that done. And I'm going to go run this errand. And I'm going to get these things done. And you can set a deadline. I'm going to get these things done today by 4 o'clock. And stick to it. But don't say, I'm going to sweep and mop the kitchen, I'm going to run this errand, I'm going to clean up the rest of the house and wash the cars and go buy new clothes for so-and-so. Don't try to do everything at once. Just be realistic about it. Okay, now this applies to everybody. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Devote 15 to 20 minutes a day to cleaning or housework. And I'm not saying that men don't do these things. I know that they do, but I think a lot of men are guilty of letting their wives take care of it for them, or their girlfriend or whoever. And again, I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying that. But I think if you're married, and if you both took 15 to 20 minutes a day doing just general housework, laundry, dusting, sweeping, mopping, dishes, whatever, and you do it every day, I think you would be surprised at how quickly everything gets done, and then you don't end up getting up on Saturday morning to a house that's going to take all day to clean up. But if it's only you, you can do it. 15 or 20 minutes a day, every day, can make a tremendous difference in the amount of work that gets done, and it keeps things from backing up and piling up, and then you go, oh my God, it's going to take all day to do this one thing, or all day to do that. But if you do 15 or 20 minutes a day, it's not a big chunk of time. I mean, you could do that. I'd be willing to bet you can find 15 or 20 minutes per day that you could do that. I know it's not fun. There are probably other things that you'd rather do, but it really makes a difference in how much you have to do later on. And this is one that a lot of people may not think of. Fix things that slow you down or make getting things done harder. And this is one that I'm guilty of myself. Actually, I just took care of something like this today. I had my ironing board was wonky. It was wobbly, and I couldn't figure out why. There was something wrong with it, and it wasn't sitting nice and sturdy on the ground, on the floor, and I was afraid to try to use it because I thought this thing's going to fall over. So I kind of ignored it for 2 or 3 weeks. I tried to set it up once, and it was really wobbly. So I just put it away, and I thought, I'll deal with it later. I don't care. And the reason I set it up was because I had a stack of ironing in the laundry room that needed to be done. But I thought, I don't have time for this. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave it. Well, I did that, and then I just kind of forgot about it for a little bit. But in the meantime, that stack of laundry that needed to be ironed, all the shirts and pants and things, and the laundry room just got taller and taller and taller. And finally, today, I finally went in there and thought, I have to do something about this. This is ridiculous. There are other ways, I guess, that I could have ironed all that stuff. I could have, set up something in the kitchen on the bar. I don't know. But I finally got my little toolbox out and took a really hard look at my ironing board, and I fixed the problem. There were a couple of loose screws. So I tightened the screws up, and it was totally fine after that. It didn't take me 5 minutes. But once I had that done, it was like, oh, great. It's fine now. But since I had put off doing that ironing for so long, I had this great big stack of stuff to iron, and it took me over an hour to iron it all. Whereas if I had fixed it to start with, all that wouldn't have been sitting in there, cluttering up my laundry room for 2 or 3 weeks. So just go ahead and fix stuff. And it might not be something like that. It could be, I don't know, it's hard to think of examples, but maybe a can opener that doesn't work quite right, or squeaky hinges on cabinet doors, things that you may not really think about, but subconsciously you're thinking, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just not going to tackle that job right now. Just go ahead and fix that stuff. Get the WD-40 or the sewing machine oil out and fix those squeaky hinges, or see what's wrong with the can opener, or whatever it is. Just go ahead and fix the problem so you can get back to doing the things that need to be done, and they don't pile up and become this huge task that has to be done. So fix stuff. And it may not even be something that takes you very long, and then after you fix it, you're going to go, why did I wait so long to do that? But as I said, I did it myself with the ironing board. So, like I said, I'm no efficiency expert. I'm certainly not perfect. My house isn't immaculate all the time. This is one that for women is so hard. It's so hard. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Do not feel like you have to do everything, because you don't. You do not have to do everything. You should not do everything for multiple reasons. And if people expect you to do everything, that's a problem. You should not be expected to take care of everything in your house. That is not appropriate, and it is not right. This is a big deal to me. I watched my mom run around and do all kinds of stuff at home, and my dad didn't really help. And I love my dad, but even as a kid, I remember watching her. They would both come home from work about the same time, and my dad would sit down and read the paper, or just, read a magazine or whatever. And my mom is running around like a chicken with her head cut off, making dinner, washing dishes, cleaning the table off, doing this, doing that. And my dad is just sitting there. And the only time he got up was when it was time to eat. Now, my dad is old school, and I know that that's the way a lot of the older generation, that's the way they look at things. That's just the way it is. But I remember thinking that was so unfair. They both work full-time jobs, and then they come home, and my mom keeps working, and my dad just sits there watching her run around like crazy and never even offers to lift a finger to help. I never saw him wash a dish. I never saw him help get any food on the table. But again, I love my dad. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but he didn't help. And I just remember thinking, this is so unfair. They both work all day, and then they come home, and my mom basically just keeps working until bedtime every single day. It's so wrong. And I swore that when I got married, I would not end up like that. But you know what? I did. And I don't even know how it happened. I just woke up one day and thought, oh my God, I'm doing the same stuff my mom did. I come home and I keep working, and my spouse goes and watches TV. This is messed up. So, you can start today. It's never too late to change things. Because I can tell you from personal experience, if you are expected to do everything in your household, you will start to resent it after a while, and it will affect you. It will affect the way you relate to people in your house. Because it did me. It made me very crabby, very grouchy. So delegate. Give some of those jobs that you're doing, some of those things that are taking up all your time, give some to your spouse, give some to your kids. You're not the only person living in the house. You're not the only person who eats, who puts dirty clothes in the hamper. You're not the only one who generates dirty dishes or clutter or anything else. You should not be the only person cleaning it up or cooking or whatever it is. You should not be the only person in that house taking care of it. It's not fair. And you can stand up and say, I need you to do some work around here. I need you to do your share. And they'll probably kick back and not like it. I know my kids don't like it, but I still expect them to do it, and they do it because I expect them to. And I don't take no for an answer. I don't think I'm mean about it, but I'm firm. So, don't feel like you have to do everything. You're not a martyr. And no one is going to give you a medal for doing everything. You're just going to be tired all the time and have no time for yourself. Look around at other people in your house if you're married or have partner or whatever, look at them and look at your kids. Look and see how much time they have to do what they want to do. How much leisure time do they have? And then take an objective look at yourself and see, how much leisure time do you have? And is it the same? I'd be willing to bet it's not. But you can change it. And like I said, it's never too late. You can start today to correct that. And they won't like it, but you owe it to yourself to not be the only person doing things around the house. And along those lines is this: don't skimp on sleep. It just hurts you in the long run. One thing that I have a problem with personally is I'm really bad about staying up really late and doing housework late at night. After the kids are in the bed, I'll end up doing housework or packaging eBay stuff or making videos. I do that too. One of the reasons I stay up is because my neighbors are insanely loud. I'm right in the middle of a noise sandwich right here. The people above me and the people below me are very noisy, and it's like they take turns. It's almost like they're on a schedule. When these people get quiet, the people down here get loud, and vice versa. It's like they're on shift. They're working swing shifts or something. I don't know. Well, one of the reasons why I do a lot of stuff late at night is because I can't sleep because of all the racket. And some nights it doesn't get quiet until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it goes on all night. Literally all night long somebody is making racket. And long story short, I've tried to correct the problem. Nothing I've tried has helped. I've called the police. I've called the management. I've done everything I can do, and actually, after I tried to get other people involved, it only got worse. But anyway, they're aware that they're making lots of noise, and not to put too fine a point on it, they don't care. So a lot of nights I'm up late because they're making so much noise I can't sleep anyway, so I get things done. But, don't stay up late doing laundry or sweeping or mopping or picking up and putting away things, because as we all know, when you don't get enough sleep over time, it does affect you physically and mentally and emotionally, and it's not worth it. Get your sleep. Get your sleep. And again, nobody's going to give you a medal for getting all the laundry done by yourself. This is one that I have done myself, and it really helped me a lot. Especially if you have a lot of trouble in the mornings getting ready to go. If you find that you're always running late, set your alarm clock back 10 to 15 minutes. That 10 to 15 minutes of sleep is not really going to make a big difference in how tired you may or may not be later in the day. But I found that having just an extra 10, even if it's just 10 minutes, an extra 10 minutes in the mornings to get up and get ready and get us out of here makes a tremendous difference in how rushed we are to get out of here. Because I get up, I get my kids up, I have to make sure they get everything done they need to get done before we leave. I have to get ready to go. I have to make sure everybody has what they need. Although another part of delegation, especially if you have children, and sometimes even your spouse, they need to learn to take care of their own things. If there's something they need to remember, you should not be responsible for remembering it for them. And I think a lot of women do that. We fall into that trap of being everybody's secretary, and personal assistant. You don't have to do that. Does anybody do it for you? Probably not. So don't feel like you have to be everybody's personal assistant and personal reminder. You don't have to remember things for everybody. Especially if you have kids, they need to learn to remember their own things so that when they're older, they won't expect you to do it for them. I've known people who had kids in college, and they would call their child every morning to make sure they got up in time for their classes. It's ridiculous. That's what alarm clocks are for. It is not your job as a parent to make sure they do these things. And my kids are 7 and 11, and I stay on them about, I want to make sure they brush their teeth and comb their hair and are dressed before they leave here. But if they have a special homework assignment, or if there's something that a teacher asks them to bring in, I don't feel responsible for remembering that, and they both know If you need to remember to bring in something for a class or do something, that is your job, because school is your job. Just like work is my job. When it comes to school, it is your responsibility to remember things that you need to do or bring in or get or whatever. That is your job. I will not be responsible for remembering any of that. And I don't. And if they forget, then they have to accept the consequences of that. I'm not going to go to school and take it for them. I'm not going to beg the teacher to give them a second chance. They will have to deal with it themselves. And I know a lot of people might think that's harsh, but I don't. So that's the way I do it. So if you set your alarm clock back, it will give you a little bit of breathing room in the morning to get stuff done. And it really helps me. And this kind of goes along with the 10 to 15 minute thing. If you have kids, get things done in the morning before you wake them up. And I find this to be helpful, especially with younger kids. Like when my kids were younger than they are now, a lot of times I would get up and I would just do little stuff before I got them up. I would at least go ahead and get up, get dressed, put my makeup on, brush my teeth, and get myself pretty much ready to go. So I would have all that done before I got them up, because especially when they were small, after I got them up, I didn't really have much time to do anything for myself. It was mainly getting them up, getting them dressed, getting whatever together for them to go to daycare or wherever, or school or whatever it was I needed to get ready for them. So, it would just give me a few minutes of peace and quiet, uninterrupted train of thought. It's like, okay, I'm going to get dressed. Oh, and I pick out my clothes the night before. That's another thing that helps, so I don't have to think about it when I get up. I can get up, get dressed, do my makeup, do something to my hair, brush my teeth, all those things, so I don't forget any of it before I leave. And I don't have anybody distracting me. I can do all this without interruptions. Oh, this one applies to today for me. Take time to goof off occasionally. This is important because you will burn out if you spend all your time working. But I think you'll find if you can delegate and give some of this work to other people in your house, and they may not even realize how overwhelmed you are. They're not going to know if you don't tell them, because they're not mind readers. But if you can start to delegate, you will find that you will have more leisure time than you have had up to this point. You will. Like today, I did fix the ironing board and I ironed those clothes. But honestly, that is pretty much all I've done today. We've watched 2 Christmas movies. I took a nap, which was wonderful. Naps are my favorite thing. I love a nap. I do. I just love naps. And the older I get, the more I love them. But you need balance. And I know a lot of people talk about that. Really, anytime you get involved with the HR department in your job, you're probably going to hear about the work-life balance. It's an overused term, but it's a real thing. And if you don't have that balance, it can make you absolutely miserable. Because I've been there. I have been there, to the point where I feel like all I do is work and run from here to there like a crazy person. And I'm always busy. And I never have any time to myself. And it will make you just lose your mind. You have to take time for yourself to just do nothing, or whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is that helps you unwind. You need to do that on a regular basis. And that's another reason why I take a day off every other month. And so, I do get things done, but I get things done a lot faster than I would if I had my kids here or if I were occupied with other things. But I also do have some time at home in a nice quiet house where I can sit down and watch a movie. And see, without the kids here, I have a lot of movies that I can't watch when they're here or awake. I can put one of those completely inappropriate movies in and watch that totally uninterrupted and not have to worry about a kid walking in and seeing what I'm watching. So, I can watch Idiocracy or Dogma or something like that, and nobody's going to walk in and go, oh my God. Take time to goof off. Seriously. And don't worry about anybody else if they think you're being lazy. Tell them to buzz off. Some of us have been married to people who think you should be constantly busy. Tell them to take a flying leap and leave you alone. This is going to sound weird. This one's going to sound weird, but bear me out. Hear me out. Bear with me. Touch things the fewest number of times possible. It's not a phobia, or it's not anything like that. What I mean is, there is a concept of efficiency. The number of times that you touch something, the more you have to touch it, the less efficient you're being. Like, say you have dirty dishes, and this is just an example, it may not make any sense. They're on the table. So you pick them up because you say you need to wipe the table down. So you pick up all the dishes and you move them over to the sideboard. And you wipe the table down. And then you move the dishes back to the table. And then you move them over to the counter. And then you move them over to the stove. And then you move them in, and you finally put them in the dishwasher. You've touched those dishes a bunch of times. But you touched them a bunch of times before they made it to where they ultimately needed to go, which was in the dishwasher. Whereas if you would just pick those dishes up, stick them in the dishwasher, as far as those dishes go, you're done. Except for starting the dishwasher and putting in the detergent, but you know what I mean. You're done. The more times you have to touch something, the less efficient you're going to be in general. So, like, say you're picking up and putting away clutter in the living room. Hopefully you have help doing this. Personally, with my children, if there's a bunch of clutter in the living room and it's not mine, I will call them in from wherever they are and tell them to get it and put it up. And if they don't put it up, if they just take it in their room and lay it on the floor, it could get taken away for a while. So they know they have to take it in their room and put it away, or they'll lose it for a while, possibly. But if you're picking up clutter, don't just pick it up and move it into this little pile, that little pile. Pick it up and immediately take it where it needs to go. One thing I used to do when I lived in a 2-story house, and I will again as soon as I can get out of this apartment. Long story short, because of financial stuff from my separation, I have to live in an apartment right now. It's the first time I've lived in an apartment since I was in college. I don't like it. I forgot how much I hated it. Anyway, I don't have a 2-story house anymore, but I will again someday. I miss having a house. What I would do is, if I had stuff that I knew went upstairs, I would set it on the foot of the stairs so I could carry it so that the next time I went upstairs for anything, I would just carry it on my way. Like if I was going up there to do laundry, oh, here's this stuff at the bottom of the stairs. Let me carry this up while I'm going and put it away. I'm not going to set it down once I get up there. I'm going to put it back where it belongs. And then it's put up. Now, I have had to touch it twice, but it's still put away. And it beats making 50 trips up and down the steps, which could end up being less efficient time-wise than just making the one trip with everything at once. So that's one thing I did, was put stuff on the bottom step going upstairs. And my kids would do the same thing. Excuse me. My kids would do the same thing. So whenever they were going up, they had to remember to check, is any of this stuff mine? If it is, and I need to go put it up. So don't keep moving things around. Pick it up, put it away. Or wash it, or whatever you need to do. This is another one I think is hard for women. Because we try to do everything. Take on only one task at a time. I know it may seem like multitasking gets lots of things done at once, but really, in my experience, it doesn't. I just do lots of things poorly. If you just focus on one thing and get that done, then you can move on and that thing is done and you don't have to worry about it anymore. A good example of trying to do multiple things instead of focusing is something I did this morning. My younger son had some clean clothes on the dryer, and I was going to take them into his room and stick them in the drawer, which normally I have them put their laundry away, but he was doing something else. So I thought I'll go put him, his room is right across from the laundry room. So I was just going to walk in there. Well, I walked in there and saw a coat on the floor, which was dirty. It was on the floor because it needed to be washed. So then I get the coat and I go put it back in the laundry room. And then I found something in the laundry room and thought I need to put this up. So I ended up, long story short, carrying these clothes that were supposed to go in his drawers. I ended up carrying them around the entire apartment at least once before I put them away. And then I ended up doing something else. But I didn't focus on the task at hand. I ended up trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. And then I forgot why I was even holding those clothes. So start and finish one thing before you start on something else. It's tempting, especially if you go from one room to another and you happen to see something and think, oh, I need to do something about that. Let me take care of that real quick. Just leave it and come back to it. Go ahead and finish what you went in there to finish, and then you can do that. I think personally I leave a lot of things undone if I try to multitask, because I just forget what I was doing. You know, I start out doing one thing and I totally forget what I started out doing, and the older I get, the worse it is. So just start something and then finish it. And don't put everything off until the weekend. This was something my mom did a lot of when I was a kid, and we ended up doing a lot of chores on the weekends. So Saturday morning was always rough. There was always a lot that had to be done. But looking back, honestly, I think it's just because she was so daggone busy every night during the week that she couldn't do it. And even for me, I know there are some things I do on the weekends because I just have more time to get it done. But don't try to put everything off. And again, if you spend 15 or 20 minutes a day doing housework, I think you'd be surprised at how little there is to get done on the weekends. Really. I mean, the biggest thing I do on the weekends typically is grocery shopping. I always do that on the weekends. It's just easier. I hate grocery shopping during the week at night, especially this time of the year when it seems like it's always dark outside after about 5 o'clock. I hate grocery shopping during the week, so I do it on Saturday or Sunday. But don't try to put everything off, because then you're going to spend all weekend working. And you just spent all week working. Don't work all weekend too. Have some fun with your family or your friends. And this is one that I don't always do. In theory, it sounds great. Do I always do it? No, I don't. I'm being totally honest. I don't. Teach your kids to do housework and expect them to do it. I think back to when I was a freshman in college. Now, when I got to college, I started doing laundry as one of my chores when I was 7. My mom taught me how to operate the washer and the dryer. As soon as I was tall enough to reach over and operate the handles on the washing machine and the dryer, I was helping do laundry every week. I didn't do all the laundry, but I did a lot of it. And my 11-year-old can do laundry. He doesn't like to, but he can. I mean, he can do it. And my 7-year-old is starting to learn, but I haven't had him do a whole lot. But I was thinking back to when I was a freshman in college, and I couldn't believe the number of girls in my dorm on my floor who had never done a load of laundry. They had no idea how the washing machine worked. In fact, there was this one girl who had no idea what to do, and she didn't ask anybody for help. She just threw some clothes in there and poured about a half a bottle of detergent in there with the clothes. And there was this huge, it was awful. It was like something off of I Love Lucy. There was foam everywhere, all over the floor. It went out in the hallway. She made a miraculous mess in the laundry room on our floor. She had no idea how to do it. She thought you just needed to pour a bunch in there and start it, and she didn't read any instructions or ask for any help. But I helped 3 or 4 different girls learn how to do laundry because they had never done it. They had no idea how to wash clothes. They didn't know what to do with fabric softener or detergent, or how the washing machine worked, how to sort clothes. Their mom had done all of it their entire life. Learning how to wash dishes by hand is, believe it or not, something you kind of have to learn. It's a skill that you have to learn, and I think it's something everybody should know. Kind of like driving a stick shift. Everybody should know how to do that too. But I've had to teach my kids how to wash dishes by hand because they don't know. You have to show them how to do it. You'd be surprised, I mean, how much you have to show somebody the first time they wash dishes by hand. But the more you teach your kids to do, and the more you expect them to do, the better off they will be when they're older, and the more time you will have to do other stuff. Maybe even time to do some fun stuff. But if they live in your house, I don't even really care. If they're 3 years old, they're old enough to pick up toys off the floor and put them away. If you have a big basket or something, they understand that. They can learn how to clean up. And as they get older, you can teach them more complex tasks. But I think a lot of parents, and I'm guilty of it too, sometimes it's just easier to do it myself than to get them involved. I just say, oh, let me just take care of this real quick. But that can add up. You see one thing after another, and let me just do this, let me do this, and it'll just take a minute, But get them involved. There should be things that they are expected to do. And if they don't do the things they're expected to do, there should be consequences for it. Otherwise, they'll just ignore you. Teach them to do stuff and then expect them to follow through with it. And I'm not just talking about 1 or 2 times. I mean every week. Here's another thing that gets me, because sometimes I don't do this. Keep an eye on the clock. Especially in the evenings, I'm bad to not do this. And that's how somehow I go through this time warp. And I'll go from 7 o'clock to 11:30, and I don't know where those 4.5 hours went. But keep an eye on the clock. And, if you're trying to get a certain number of things done, you have to think, okay, I have this long. I don't need to get distracted by anything else. I need to focus on getting this done because I'm running out of time. So glance up at the clock every now and then just to get an idea of where you stand as far as what you're trying to get done. And this is a hard one for women. Learn to say no and do it. Do not let other people take up all of your time, because they will if you don't say no. I don't care whether it's PTA or some organization in your church or some other group that you belong to, school stuff, family stuff. You don't have to do it all. You don't. If you don't have time to take on a project or do something, say no. You don't have to be mean about it. You can be polite but firm and say no. And say no whenever you need to. If you have a lot going on at home, and say your boss says, I really would like it if you would come in and work over the weekend. This is a fine line. I mean, this is something you have to do you have to use your own judgment. But my experience with work, and this hasn't been an issue for me with my current position, but I have worked in places before where I was asked to work a lot of overtime. And I found that if you don't say no occasionally, after a while saying no is no longer an option. And you will just be expected to do it, and they will insist that you do it, and it's not really even something they're going to ask you about. So at least half the time, I would say no. Even if I could do it, even if I could work, I would still say no, just because they needed to understand sometimes I'm going to say no, and I'm not going to do it. Because if you don't, I promise you they will expect you to do it. After a while, they will expect you to always do it. You have to say no. And that will help save your sanity. And it will keep other stuff from taking all your time. Especially if you're already pressed for time and you have a lot going on. You don't need to add to it. So just say no. Oh, this is a big one for me. Make sure everything has a designated place. And everything I have has a designated spot. And it's mainly because I'm lazy in a way. I don't like to look for things. It's one of my biggest pet peeves to spend a lot of time looking for stuff. Like scissors or tape or whatever. Anything that I use on a regular basis, I want to be able to go right to that spot and find it. And my kids can tell you the fastest way to make me angry is to use something and not put it back so that when I need it, I can't find it. I become very angry very fast. If you move my scissors and you don't put them back, I'm going to get very upset. Because it's not hard when you're done. Just put them back. Whatever you're using, when you finish, put it back. That's all. But if you have everything in a designated place, you are not going to waste a bunch of time looking for it over and over and over again. Like the kids' shoes. They all have a designated place in their room for all of their shoes. They don't have to come to me and say, where are my shoes? That's another thing I don't do, and it's kind of off topic a little bit. I don't find things for my children. And when I was married, I didn't find things for my spouse. If you need to find something, if you can't find something of yours, I'm not going to keep up with where it is. If you can't find your coat, I don't know where it is, and I'm going to tell you that. I don't make it a point to remember where everybody's things are. If we're running late and you really need help and I know where it is, I'll tell you. But otherwise, I expect my children to remember where their things are. And again, that may sound harsh, and there are some people who may not approve of that. But I think it will help them be more responsible and keep up with their own things when they are adults. And the way I look at it, I'm not raising kids, I'm raising adults. And I want them to be able to function independently when they're grown. So when they come to me, and it's usually when I'm right in the middle of something, they'll go, Mom, where are my shoes? I say the same thing. I don't know. Where'd you put them? Because I put the responsibility back on them. It is not my responsibility to know where their shoes are. So I will say, I don't know. Where did you put them? And then they will go find their shoes. Nobody's died from it yet, so I don't think it's too bad. But keep everything in a designated spot. And that way it's easy for everyone to find whatever it is. Because everybody's going to know, oh, you need that? Well, that's over there. But put it back when you're done, or Mom will get upset. And this is my last one. Reward yourself. When you've gotten a lot done and you look back over your week and you go, my goodness, I can't believe everything I've accomplished. Reward yourself. Even if it's just, take a walk around the block or watch something, just whatever little thing it is that you like. Reward yourself for doing so well. And it's just a nice little treat for being so productive. And again, maybe I come across as a know-it-all or like I'm sanctimonious. I'm not. God knows I'm not perfect. I put stuff off. There are things that I put off because I hate doing them. I absolutely hate cleaning windows. I hate it. Fortunately, here in the apartment, I don't have to worry about that. But I would put that off till the end of time if I could because I hate doing it. I don't like doing it at all. And there are other everyday tasks. I hate vacuuming my car out. I hate doing it because I always get sweaty. And at least once I hit my head, every time I will hit my head on the door frame or something. So there are things I put off too. There are things I can't stand doing, but I know I have to do them. I don't always delegate. Sometimes I take things on myself, and after a while I become resentful and bitter. I have fallen prey to every one of these things, every one of these, and but it's because of that I've learned how important they are to do, because I don't do them all the time, and then when I don't do them, I pay for it. So no, I am not saying that I'm perfect. I am far from it. There are a lot of ways I could be better or more productive or more efficient, but I try to keep these things in mind. And I just thought I would share because somebody said they wanted to see a video about it. So here it is. Anyway, that's really all I have. And I hope you maybe picked up at least one or two things you could use. But if you're a woman and you share a house with other people and you feel like you're doing it all, you don't have to do it all. You really don't, and you shouldn't. If you don't learn anything else, just learn that you are not responsible for everything, and you can get other people to help you out. There's nothing wrong with that, and I encourage you to do it. So, that being said, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go do some eBay stuff because it is now time for me to do that. Looking at the clock, I can see it's time for me to go do some eBay stuff. So I hope you have a good day. I'll see you.